My first experience with a Nothing phone was last year's Phone 3. And the phone itself wasn't anything to shout home about, but I did start to fall in love with it. This was because of its design. It stood out, it was different, and while most people thought it was ugly, I saw its beauty. And the 4A Pro has me loving Nothing all over again. I'm Paul, and for the last week I've spent every second living and breathing with the 4A Pro, and I love the phone's design. I'm just not sure that I love the phone. I'm going to start by giving Nothing a lot of credit here. Their phones, their aesthetic, their whole brand stands out in a sea of the same. Annoyingly though, with the 4A Pro, they do seem to be going away from what made them special in the first place. Instead, with the 4A Pro, you get a small bit of transparency and a big glyph matrix, which I'm not sure anyone is really asking for. I like the idea of seeing notifications for specific contacts or apps on the back without having to pick the phone up. And this is bigger than the one on the Phone 3, but it doesn't seem like it's as high quality, so everything looks a little bit soft using it. And I feel like you don't get as much fun with the glyph matrix on the 4A Pro as you did with the Phone 3. Now, you still do get like the thing where I can flip a coin and it can land on heads or tails. I don't even know what that is actually, but I feel like there's just a little less playfulness with this glyph matrix. There is what looks like a button on the bottom left of this phone, but I don't think this does anything, and I thought it would be to control the glyph matrix, but maybe I'm wrong. Nothing also are really pushing essential space, and it's just something I just can't really get on board with. I'm not sure what benefit it has to me that I can't just really get from using Gemini. I kind of don't want another app that I have to think about. Nothing did move the essential key to the left hand side this time round, so I won't accidentally touch it like I always did with the Phone 3, but now I know exactly where it is, so I never have to use it. One thing I love is Nothing OS. Again, credit to Nothing here for making an OS that feels so much like the phone. It's so seamless, it blends into the design so well, like you know immediately that this is Nothing, and maybe it's probably one of my favourite Android OSs you can get. There are so many widgets to pick from and different styles for each one. The icons, they look great, it's quick, animations are superb, and I just really like the vibe. It's very different to stock Android, but at the same time, it's kind of similar. I'm surprised at how well this OS runs on a phone that it's only $499. I also love a brand knowing what they are about and just going all in on that, and I think Nothing OS is such an extension of that phone. And Nothing OS is one of those phones that's making me not want to keep my phone on silent. Like, I love all of the sounds that come from this phone. And I love how much effort Nothing have put into the camera experience here. I just kind of wish that I loved the photos that the Nothing 4A Pro could take. I think for the price point that these cameras are fine. The colours are nice without being too oversaturated. And I love that we have 3 lenses, an ultra wide, a main and a 3.5 times telephoto. I think at this price having some versatility in cameras is kind of all you can ask for. And if you're just going to post these photos to Instagram, I don't think you'll ever have too many problems. What Nothing have done though is made taking photos fun. There are a ton of different filters that you can use and some of them are really good. And then it takes away the effort of having to edit those photos after, and you can get some stuff that looks pretty unique. You can pick from a load of different frames. It kind of makes you want to take more photos because they can stand out from anything else. The issues with the camera is if you were to really study the photos that it takes. I think with all of the lenses, the details aren't great. Everything is just a little bit soft. And sometimes the photo can give you a very different result, even in the same lighting. And the cameras just aren't quick enough for anything that moves. Trying to get a photo of Cassie in focus was impossible. Nothing also spoke a lot about this new Tetra Prism lens for its telephoto camera to give it a 7 times lossless zoom, but I'm not sure that it is lossless because there's definitely a quality drop from the 3.5 times lens. And at the launch, I remember Nothing talking a lot about the 140 times zoom that this phone can do, and I like to call it Minecraft mode. That's because at 140 times, it doesn't really do a great job. It's blocky and the details are pretty weak, but I kind of didn't expect much from 140 times digital digital zoom. But I think I would definitely rather have the cameras on this phone rather than the ones on something like a Pixel 10a. I mean, I feel like you get a little bit more versatility here, and as I mentioned, it is just fun to take photos with this phone. And when it comes to nighttime shots, I feel like the 4A Pro handles this pretty well. If you use that main lens, it gives you a pretty decent photo. Again, the details aren't hugely there if you really pay attention, but again, I've got to remember this is a mid-range phone, so there is some leniency with this. The ultra-wide and 3x telephoto don't perform too well. The ultra-wide can just take some bad photos, while the telephoto is just very soft with not many details. And moving to video, I feel like anything on that main lens is actually pretty good. It can shoot 4K 30, but only on the main and the 3.5x telephoto, so nothing on the ultra-wide here. I also really like the little red recording light that you see when you are taking a video. This is nice. I do have to remind myself though that this is a $500 phone, so the cameras kind of give you exactly what you expect from a phone in this price range. They aren't amazing, but they're fine. As I've mentioned that this phone is only $500, I feel like for that $500 you do get quite a lot on this. For a start, it's the slimmest phone Nothing have ever made, and even though they've lost their transparent design almost entirely on this, I do like that industrial unibody metal finish. The display is 6.83 inches and now is a 1.5K resolution display. It can get to a peak brightness of 5000 nits, and it's got a 144Hz refresh rate. And everybody else, just take note that these are the type of bezels that you want on a mid-range phone. Like, not everything has to be big, chunky and ugly. And I'm mostly talking about Google here. Like, let's do bezels like this, even on mid-range phones, please. One thing that I love on the 4A Pro is that the battery, it's really good. It's just over 5000 mAh, and I don't remember a day where it's been struggling. In fact, I've definitely got into a second day without charging it if I'm using this phone lightly. It has 50-watt wire charging, which is quicker than almost all other $500 phones. Let me pull the curtain back for a second. Now, every time we get a new phone to review, we also get like a review guide, which tells us loads of different specs. And the way that Nothing told us how long the battery can last on this, I think really shows exactly where they're trying to market this phone and exactly who to. Nothing said you can get 21 hours of YouTube on this phone and almost 25 hours of Instagram scrolling. Like, I feel very sorry for the person that had to test this. The phone is powered by the Snapdragon 7 Gen 4, which clearly isn't the most powerful SoC that Nothing could have put into this phone, but I think they're trying to find that balance of performance for people buying this phone and price, so I kind of don't have many complaints about that. I'll say it again, I love Nothing phones. I love their design. I love their OS. And if I didn't review phones, then I think that I would probably rock a Nothing phone every day. I feel like right now, especially in this mid-range category, Nothing stands out. They have a very solid ecosystem with the Headphone A and earbuds, and it gives you something that no other brand does. They want to be different. They are different, and I love them for that. I've got two small complaints though, and I think these are pretty valid. Like, I wish the OS updates were a bit longer. 3 years is pretty weak on the Nothing Phone 4A Pro, and also, please, Nothing, do not move away from the transparency. Like, I love the look of the Nothing Phone 4A without it being Pro. Like, transparency is your thing, so please don't get away from it too much. While the 4A Pro looks cool, I do think that the 4A regular does look a little bit better. I'm curious if you agree with me about the Nothing Phone 4A, so if you do, or even if you don't, let me know in the comments below. If you can subscribe to the channel before you head off, that would be really nice. I'd massively appreciate it. And if you do that, then I'll see you in the next one.